All right. So coming up next on 100 Ways to Make 100K. This episode is very special. The person that I want to introduce to you is honestly probably one of the reasons that this show even exists. Probably one of the reasons that I have real estate in the first place, and has really stretched my mind to not think so small. Now, I remember when I first moved down to Windsor, he goes, "Man, you still think 100K is a lot of money?" And honestly, that one statement has really stuck with me. So the next person that I want to introduce to you is Graham Thompson, a complete savage. And, growing up, he was always running track. And one thing that I always admire is that he goes after whatever it is as fast as he can. I can't wait for you to hear this story about how he flipped his OSAP, dropped out of university, and used it to buy real estate. Ended up partnering with a bunch of people. You know what? Don't let me spoil it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Graham Thompson.
Yeah, so my name's Graham Thompson. I'm a real estate investor and an entrepreneur. I have a few businesses here in Windsor, Ontario.
Interesting. Okay, so let's just get right into it then. I'm curious. Graham, you think you could tell us a little bit about the first time that you made 100 grand in a year?
First time I made 100 grand in a year, I would say was 2019 through investing. So what I had done, I was actually still in school. I was going to University of Guelph. I was in a real estate and housing program, fantastic program at University of Guelph. And I was running track. And on the weekends, I would come down to Windsor and I was looking at properties and found a property I wanted to buy and bought the property. It was a student rental housing property. It was just $130,000 I think I spent on it. And so I spent about $5,000 and a few long weekends renovating it. And then I rented it out for $2,000 a month. And then I went back to Toronto where I was doing a summer internship at CBRE. And went to my mentor and told him a little bit about it, told him a little bit more. Then I said to him, hey, you have any interest in doing a few of these with me and investing in Windsor, Ontario? He said, yeah, sure. It's funny. It was pretty, about a 5-minute conversation with him. Didn't need much convincing, but we ended up buying 4 or 5 homes within the next year. And with our sweat equity that we put in, purchasing the right properties and the appreciation, natural appreciation, we cleared several $100,000 over the first year of investing. So it wasn't just $100,000. Luckily, my first $100,000, it was actually several $100,000 in my first year of doing it just through real estate investing and getting a little lucky with the market.
Interesting. Okay. So you got to break this down, man. You're in university. Yeah. You're coming up to Windsor on the weekends. How do you even know about this stuff? How did you learn about it? How did you get into it? I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, it was actually a really unique way of getting started. I had a passion as a kid, was just finding deals. And I started in used cars. Whenever, in high school, I would look for cars for my friends. So when my friends were looking for a new car, I would be like, let me find it for you. What do you want? And I'd actually look and find them a car. And I'd find them the best deal, helping them negotiate it. And then it kind of turned into houses. I graduated high school just looking at them. I wouldn't even be buying them. I would spend hours and hours on end on Realtor.ca, on Zillow, looking at the States, looking for deals. And I'd be analyzing certain things. I'd be looking at how many bedrooms does this have? What neighborhoods is it in? And then trying to find the difference and finding the niche markets where you might be able to get a deal or it might look like a deal and trying to figure out why it was cheaper in this area than that area. Maybe the neighborhood's better. And so I had a passion for looking at these deals. And I had just joined the real estate and housing program at Guelph. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get into real estate. What do I want to do in real estate? Maybe I want to be in real estate law. My parents always thought I'd be a good lawyer. So the idea was there that I'd get into real estate law, but you know what? Let's buy a house. Let's invest in something. I've heard that, more millionaires are made in real estate than anything else. Let's try it out. So I was looking at Windsor real estate because it was the only real estate I could afford at the time. I mean, I'm in school. I'm using OSAP loans to buy a property. I ended up finding a house that I liked. I was actually using Jeremy McGraw, who's now my business partner. I bought that first house for, I think it was $130,000. And, the rest is history. I just found something that I said, I could make $2,000 a month off this. Did it. And it was cash flowing, I think, $800 a month. The mortgage was only about $600 at the time. I guess the rest is history.
Interesting. So, it seems like it's deal to deal to deal to deal, whether it be, finding anything really. Like you started in cars, right? Now you're doing houses, man. I'm really excited to see kind of what you get into next. But I'm really curious, and I actually want to know, like, what do you think every deal needs, right? Like whether it be cars, whether it be homes, whether it be buildings, whether it be land. Like, what are those elements and those factors that you would consider when you're thinking about, is this a deal? Is this not a deal? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge question. I mean, from a developer's point of view, if you're going to go, 30,000 feet up, you're looking at what. So valuing a development deal is a little different because you're looking at what this could be. So, you're looking at the land, you're looking at what you can change the zoning to, and then you got to factor in your construction costs, development costs, and the land, and figure out whether you have a deal. A good margin for when it's all said and done versus how much you spent is 30%. That means, if you have a 30% profit margin when you're all said and done, you built it, you're going to make 30% on top of what all your costs are. That's a great, kind of rule of thumb. Bringing that down to, where we are, because we're a little bit below the ground right now. I would say you want to make money on the buy. And what that means is you want to have a little bit of built-in equity. Don't rush, your first deal or any deal unless there's some huge margin or there's some reason, you just can't say no. Wait for a deal to come for you or to you. And you're looking for built-in equity. And what I mean by that is you want to look at comparables in the market. So if you're looking at comparables in the market and you notice that the house you're going to buy for $500,000 is almost a perfect comparable, and what I mean by comparable, it's almost the exact same, whether it's, square footage, bathrooms, bedrooms, style, to another house in the area, and let's say you're buying it for $500,000, when those other houses have all sold for $600,000. That's built-in equity. You have $100,000 worth of built-in equity in that house. So it's kind of a neat way of looking at it, and it's a pretty straightforward way to make money because if you think about it, especially with leverage, if you are putting 20% down on a $500,000 home, you're spending $100,000 on that. So if you buy a $600,000 house for $500,000 for 20% down, you're spending $100,000 and you immediately make $100,000. Because if you tried to resale it, I mean, you have to take into consideration taxes, realtor fees, land transfer tax, lawyer fees. But your gross, net there, or not your gross income will be $100,000 on that. So that's not bad. If you do that, it's really hard to lose. Because in a market that's going down, it seems we might be going into that soon, or we could be dropping a couple points. It's a margin of safety or a net of safety where, okay, if it drops 20%, you know what, I still got a deal in the house. Maybe I'll hit, be about even. So it's a good way to look at a deal or evaluating a deal like you're asking.
Interesting. Well, thank you for breaking that down because you mentioned a couple different fundamental elements, right? Like buying something that's worth a little bit more than you're actually buying it for. So I think that goes for any industry, any asset. So that was really useful, man. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So do you remember the first time that you made $100,000 in a month?
So $100,000 a month. I don't know if I'd be able to pinpoint it because, maybe there was months in that first year that there was appreciation that amounted to over 100,000.
What about in a day?
In a day. Well, the trick is with real estate is you'll have a lot of $100,000 or multi-$100,000 or $1 million paydays. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot. If you're into real estate investing, at some point, if you continue to build up your equity and don't spend it all on houses, then you might, or flashy cars, you might build up to the point where you might hit the $1 million paydays. And those $1 million paydays might be over a month, they might be over a year, they might be over multiple years. So it's really tough to say whether I've made $100,000 in a day. I would say I haven't. I would say that I've had great paydays, maybe some deals that took a month. That I could tell you a story about one deal. I had bought this deal. It was supposed to be a flip. It was a 100-acre farm, and I bought it, and it took 6 months or 7 months to close. That was from the time we had the deal written to the actual closing day where I would actually take possession of the property. It was about 6 or 7 months, I believe. And by the time that it closed, the market had appreciated so much that I essentially sold the house and the land for, I think it was $275,000 more than I had bought it for. So I mean, I only owned the property for, I think, a week, maybe before I sold it. I got possession. I immediately kind of cleaned out and then relisted it. And I think that was probably my most straightforward deal, because I had plans to flip the thing. I had plans to put a couple $100,000 into the place and maybe see higher returns on it, but over a longer period of time. But it just so happened that the market had appreciated so much that in that time span that I made it quickly and I didn't have to do much work. So I wouldn't say that I've made $100,000 in a day, more so that I've made it, I've had $100,000 paydays, but over, a couple months worth of work or a couple weeks worth of work in this instance. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for breaking it down. Sure. I think that $100,000 question is an interesting one, because some people might say, hey, is it gross? Is it net? And I think it's up to interpretation, especially when you look at something like a deal, right, where it's like this thing just spans out over the course of a year and a half or 6 months or 7 months or whatever. Does it really count as in a day? Is it really in a month? But hey, it's up for interpretation. So what type of things have you got going on these days, Graham? What type of stuff are you working on?
Yeah, so I finished a number of my projects. I still got a couple projects going on. But I decided to finally spoil myself a bit. I went from living in an apartment in one of my buildings. I was living in a 5-unit building in a small 1-bedroom apartment. And I finally bought a house. I found a house out in Windsor, and it's a really unique style. We're sitting in it right now. And I think I was able to get a decent deal on the place. It was unfinished, so there's certain exterior portions of the house that need finishing, like the pool, the driveway, the landscaping that need to be completed. And so I'm making sense of it in the fact that it's a bit of a project. I'll have some built-in sweat equity, and so I've made sense of the luxury purchase in that way. But yeah, I'm working on this. I'm working on building the businesses. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I have a property management business. We do some construction, and I also have an electrical business. So I'm working on building our systems surrounding both those businesses, and mostly our sales systems at this point. And that's where my energy is going.
Interesting. So if you could go back and meet that Graham, the one back in university, or even going back to the one that was looking at cars, what type of advice would you have for him if he asked you, how do I make $100,000 in a day?
Well, I 2020 hindsight, right? You look back and you say, okay, you should have put your money in Bitcoin, you should have put your money in Tesla, you should have put your money in Windsor real estate. But I think real estate is the safest bet, and obviously I'm saying that after one of the strongest bull runs in history, especially in a city like Windsor. I think it's the strongest bull run. I've caught kind of the last little wave of it. I I would say real estate, because the one thing about real estate, especially that divides itself from stocks, is you have control. So you can purchase, you can do insider trading. You can find out as much about the house as you possibly can. If there's something going up, a new development around the neighborhood, or new amenities that are coming to the space, you can utilize that in your research and your due diligence to add that to your purchase. If you're looking for more information, whereas in stocks you can't really do that. That's insider trading. You can also put in sweat equity, so you can make the place better. You can't really go and I guess you could go start working at the company, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how easy that is. But you can't really do that at stocks. And you can come to a house, you can start doing work yourself. You can have contractors come and do the work, and you can make the asset better, which really separates it from other asset classes. So I think real estate is the way to go. It's the most simple way if you want to make money. Not everybody's built for real estate, but if you think you are, I'd give it a shot.
Beautiful. And Graham, before we wrap up and get out of here, where can people find you and learn a little bit more about the companies that you're building and what you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. Watch out for the fake accounts that have been popping up lately. It's the Graham Thompson, so THE Graham, so GRAEME, Thompson, THOMPSON. You can find our property management business and construction at thompsonasset.com. So it's www.thompsonasset.com. You can also find our electrical business at Thompson Electrical Inc.ca or telectrical.ca. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. You can reach out to me on Instagram if you're looking to get into real estate. Happy to answer any questions. I think that's one of the coolest things about real estate is real estate investors are really friendly, and they love to share advice. I don't think I've seen that in any other sector. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I'd love to chat.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Graham. We appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Oh, great.
Okay, and that is how Graham made his first 100K. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was truly an honor to bring this one to you. My little big cousin, man, makes me so proud every time I think about him. So I hope you guys enjoy. Once again, I'm your host, Javon.ca, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.